Good morning. Welcome to worship at Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Mark Tuning. I'm the music director here. And I go by he, him, and his pronouns. We always begin our worship with song. So let's do this one in two languages. Ven, ven, qual eres, ven, come, come, whoever you are. The words will be on your screen. Ven, ven, qual eres, ven, nómadan búsquedas llamas la vida, la nuestra es la caravana de amor. Ven, otra vez ven, come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Ven, ven, qual eres, ven, nómadan búsquedas llamas la vida, la nuestra es la caravana de amor. Ven, otra vez ven, ven, otra vez ven, ven, otra vez ven.
Good morning, and welcome to the Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm the Reverend Leslie Takahashi, and my pronouns are she and her. We're so glad that you have chosen to join with us this morning and to join in the life of our community, which is one that has been in this area for more than 60 years. Though you do not have to believe a creed to be comfortable among us, we do welcome you in the spirit of the beliefs that have been passed down to us from generations. We are especially celebrating today the freedom that we have to make our own search for truth and meaning in these times. If you are visiting and you want to learn a little bit more about who we are and what we believe, you can go to our website and fill out one of our virtual visitors cards. We will be glad to follow up with you. And next Saturday at 4 o'clock, we are having a Getting to Know You session, which is a chance to come and be with us virtually to learn a little bit more about who we are and to meet some of the wonderful people in this community. We hope you will join us. You can sign up on the website or email me. We are an engaged community, and we remain engaged in these virtual times. We will be looking to replace the community meal that we host at the end of November each year. It can't happen in the ways that we are used to making it happen, so we're making plans to do some limited cooking so that we need folks who are certified as food handlers or willing to go through the brief video training to become certified. We also are looking for drivers, and most importantly, we're looking for people that are willing to let us bring them a meal on that Thursday morning. So please let us know if you are interested in participating in any of these ways. Next Saturday, we will have a farewell reception for Arliss and Art Ungar, who are leaving our state probably before the end of the month. This will also be on Zoom. Look for details in your email. Next Sunday, a week from today, we will have an interfaith concert that we are hosting for the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County, and we hope you will tune in. Thanks to our music director, Mark Tuning, for his leadership in this event. We want to thank you for our Bid for Love involvement. There's been an amazing leadership, and everybody has participated so well. I want to mention specifically that we have the last iteration of our Borton Marketplace today on campus from 1 to 3. And our volunteers have very dutifully been here and shown up through some of the most not receptive and hospitable weather that we've had. They've actually literally been outside in cold wind and rain. Today it's actually beautiful, so perhaps you can reward their efforts by showing up. There are still some wonderful items for bid. We will also have our Living Traditions class, ministers class, at 3 p.m. today on Zoom. Caring and connection is so vital during this time, so please contact me or Intern Minister Miranda Lennox if a listening ear would be helpful to you. Please do not try to go it alone, especially as we approach this holiday time of year. This week, the people of Hindu, Sikh, and the Jain faiths are experiencing a different kind of Diwali. This holiday honors the goddess of wealth, abundance, and well-being, and across India, it is traditional to light oil lamps or candles in honor and wishes for abundance and good health and prosperity during the year to come. So this morning, we light this candle in honor of the people of goodwill across our world who are hoping that the days to come will bring abundance for all. Welcome to our worship service.
Good morning. I'm Chris Carter, a member of your Board of Trustees and treasurer for the congregation, and my pronouns are he, him, and his. We'd like to begin our service by reading together our church mission, which you will now see on your screen. Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church is a welcoming religious community. We bring to life our Unitarian Universalist values as we seek truth and work for justice, nurture compassion and courage, reach out to each other and to our larger community of faith, bridge the divisions that wound the human family, transform ourselves and our world. Our MDUUC community is such a blessing in these challenging times. We continue to follow necessary restrictions of people and groups on campus for everyone's safety. But you are welcome to come by, visit the campus, and leave an encouraging message on the outdoor blackboards for your friends. We are grateful to many people, ministers, staff and volunteers, members and friends, who are creating the many virtual ways that we can stay connected. A special thank you to those who made the Bid for Love Gala such an enjoyable and successful event. Those who donated items, those who have bid on gatherings, events, and items, and to the dedicated committee that pulled together this amazing catalog, our remarkable MCs for the evening, the tech team, the promoters, the organizers, thank you all. More on the results after the auctioning closes on November 14th. Please mark your date for our next congregational forum, November 22nd at 12:30. You'll receive info in the church email soon about the agenda and topics. These days can be so hard, so please remember, if you need help or are feeling isolated, let one of our ministers know. Take good care, take care of yourselves, and welcome. It's good to be together.
Each week we are gifted by images that represent what has been happening in our community. And we want to begin today by honoring all of our members who are veterans among us as we pass this week of Veterans Day. We know that we are not able to do and honor everyone today, but know that you are honored in our hearts. And we also invite you to let us know if you are a veteran so that we can contact you directly in future years. We also honor those that are off on new adventures, trying things that are different and exploring new horizons. We are grateful for everyone who continues to send us the things that bring them joy during these difficult days when we are still searching for new ways to do things. With the beauty that is all around us, let us be grateful as we gather, grateful for the rains that have come, for the memories we have of other days that will sustain us as we navigate these times.
We invite you to sing the words of the invocation. You'll find them on your screen. The ocean refuses no river, no river. The ocean refuses no river, no river. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Good morning. My name is Wes Fenhany, and my pronouns are he and him.
Good morning. My name is Chris Heskey, and my pronouns are he and him.
Today we are lighting the chalice under the words of Ella Higginson and her poem Four-Leaf Clover, which evokes new beginnings.
I know a place where the sun is like gold, and the cherry blooms burst with snow, and down underneath is the loveliest nook, where the four-leaf clovers grow.
One leaf is for hope, and one is for faith, and one is for love, you know, and God put another in for luck. And if you search, you find where they grow.
But you must have hope, and you must have faith. You must love and be strong. And so, if you work, if you wait, you will find the place where the four-leaf clovers grow.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Lincoln. I'm the worship associate this morning. Like many of you I know, one of the things about MDUUC that I really treasure is the community that it affords us all. It's wonderfully comforting and grounding to have warm, supportive relations with so many folks whose values, beliefs, and religious traditions I respect, embrace, and share. I was raised a UU. My father was a Unitarian minister, my mother a religious educator. And I always felt blessed to be surrounded by a rich and warm church and faith community. My sister and I, being the preacher's kids, were really in the thick of it. This was something that I'm pretty sure I liked more than she did. Once she left home, no longer had to go to church again, she never did. Maybe because of my immersion in church life while I was growing up, I acquired a greater than average need for community. As a college student and later a professor, I looked for it, and to some extent I found it in academia. The university seemed to me rather like the church, a campus-based communal organization with strong traditions and rituals, grounded in transcendent values such as search for truth, learning, enlightenment, human betterment, and social justice. Still, there were some aspects of college life that didn't mesh well with the values and norms that sustain community. The culture of selectivity, performance, competition, and evaluation, which lies at the heart of the academic enterprise, certainly serves a purpose, but it doesn't, in my opinion, do a lot to build community. The church is different. All are equally welcome, respected, and loved. So despite my love for academia and my deep gratitude that I could be a part of it for so many years, on the dimension of community, I think the church wins hands down. It's considerably more complete and fulfilling. We as a nation are living in a time of heightened division, distrust, and antagonism. Many of the foundations of community that sustained this country in the past have been severely weakened. I don't need to enumerate all of them. Most will be familiar to you. But I think trade unions, responsible employers that provide stable and well-paying jobs, local neighborhood newspapers, and mainstream and moderate religious organizations are a few of the community-building institutions that have declined over time. Some of you may disagree, but in my view, electronic social media has, on balance, been a destroyer, not a builder or enhancer of community in any meaningful sense. The fragmentation and division that are tearing the U.S. apart as we speak are threatening the foundations of our democracy as political opportunists with the worst of intentions widen and exploit them for partisan advantage. I pray that we'll get through this awful period in our history, perhaps through the successful efforts of the incoming administration, and that some semblance of nationwide empathy, decency, community, and sanity will be restored. In the meantime, we have the church to cling to, and its wonderful leadership and staff and volunteers to guide us through these trying times. And thanks for this island of community, hope, and faith that sustains us. Let us worship together.
We invite you to join in singing our opening song, Now Let Us Sing. The words will be on your screen.
Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice. Be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the hope within. Lift up your voice. Be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the love within. Lift up your voice. Be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the joy within. Let us sing. Sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice. Be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within.
Good morning. My name is Indigo Lewis. My pronouns she and hers, and I serve this congregation as the Director for Lifespan Religious Education. Our story this morning, The Rhino Who Swallowed a Storm, by LeVar Burton and Susan Schaefer Bernardo, is about a small rhino who is suffering under the weight of some really big feelings. I wonder what it will take for him to release those feelings and let it go. Let's find out. Long, long ago, before there were words, animals roamed in bountiful herds. Little Rhinoceros lived happy and free, exploring mountains and meadows, rivers and trees. His world was delightful and chock full of magic, until out of the blue, the magic turned tragic. A storm swept through the valley, turning bright sky to black. A flash flood came raging, no time to react. The storm crashed through his world and tore it apart, and took away everything dear to his heart. Rhino was stunned by the terrible scene, death and destruction all through the ravine. Enraged by the pain of such a great loss, Rhino acted without a thought to the cost. Rhino looked at his world, all tattered and torn, stood out on the ledge and swallowed the storm. Inside his belly, he felt the storm growing. Inside his head, he heard howling and blowing. Like a tornado, he spun as the storm raged inside, growing bigger and bigger and wider than wide. When he finally stopped, when he regained control, he was at the very bottom of a very deep hole. What to do? Rhino worried as rain dripped down his face. I'm lost and I'm lonely and in such a dark place. At just the right moment to comfort and guide him, a spider dropped down and dangled beside him. The world up above is shattered and gray, but it's where you belong, so you must find a way to let that storm out and move through your sorrow. You'll find many helpers on your road to tomorrow. Oh, but that hole was dreadfully deep, and the walls all around him were slippery steep. Rhino tried to climb out, but was losing all hope when Kangaroo heard him and threw down a rope. Though Rhino was heavy from the weight of the storm, they towed him right up, got him safe, dry and warm. We're strong and steady and always ready. When danger strikes, we hop to it. Fire or flood, snow or mud, when help is needed, we'll pull you through it. Watching those heroes do what they did best gave Rhino the strength to set off on his quest. That storm he was clutching made him buzzy and blurry. It kept his brain foggy and filled him with worry. Where do I go? What do I do? How will I ever make it through? After every dark night, there comes a new day. Be kind, do your best, and you'll find your way. Up comes the sun. There are steps to complete. There isn't a map. Just follow your feet. Rhino followed his feet to a wallowing spot where he plopped on a rock and had a deep thought. I'm tired of caging the wind and the rain, exhausted from holding this anger and pain. We're all on this earth to learn and to grow, a wise old tortoise chimed in from below. Allowing yourself to start feeling your feelings is the very first step on the journey toward healing. It doesn't matter if you're fast or you're slow. If you want to move forward, just trust and let go. Rhino shook and shimmied and stomped in the muck. And just as he hoped, that storm came unstuck. At first, one little raindrop leaked out of his eye. Then Rhino let go and had a good cry. His tears formed a river that flowed to the sea, where a pod of whales swam happy and free. I do feel better, Rhino thought as he drifted. Then up swam a whale and Rhino was lifted. If you ever feel blue, the whale said with a spout, remember to breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. Sing your own song and take it deep, deep, deep. Then rise above with a joyful leap as he floated home on a gentle wave. Rhino felt calm and strong and brave. His vision was clear like the sky above, and he looked at his world through eyes filled with love. He thanked the kind spider and the brave kangaroo and all of the others who'd helped him through. He was glad to know that if he ever lost hope, they'd lend him a hand or throw him a rope. He had journeyed his journey a very long way to find the light in a world turned gray. He'd swallowed a storm with no thought to the cost. He'd felt all alone. He'd been tumbled and tossed. Life would bring changes, beginnings and ends. but he had faith in himself and faith in his friends. As they curled up together, he felt loved and protected, and he dreamed of a world that was safe and connected. I invite you to join me in singing our children and youth out to their activities.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice. As you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Each week we take into the loving heart of this community those joys and sorrows that are too great to hold alone. And this week we are lighting a candle today for Jane Russell on behalf of the Caring Committee, who asked us to light 2 candles celebrating this month's 90-plus birthdays. We are wishing a very happy birthday to Mary Smits and Bert Kesnick. Sally Edgerton is lighting a candle for her son, Todd, who needs hope in his struggle. Sharon Sabato has asked that we light 2 candles. One is for Sharon's sister, Tricia, who is a frontline worker as a teacher in Wisconsin, quarantining with nieces Ava and Ella after COVID exposure. And the second is for Sharon's mom, Rita, who is navigating these pandemic times on her own in Wisconsin, as it's risky for anyone to see her or to travel to be with her. Catherine Wellington asks that a candle of concern be lit for her son, Ramin, who has started to have seizures. He is now on medication, is just starting work with a neurologist with tests being scheduled. So Catherine asks that you keep them both in your thoughts as they figure out what's going on and how to get it under control. And Adam Dyer, a beloved former member of this congregation, now serving our congregation as the minister in Cambridge, Massachusetts, shares the news with us today that he has received full fellowship from the Unitarian Universalist Association, marking the last passage in his life in ministry. So we're grateful to celebrate with Adam today. I ask Mark to light 2 final candles. I asked Miranda, to light 2 final candles. One holds the joys and sorrows that are unexpressed in words, but which are also expressed in our hearts today and held within this community. And the second holds our hopes and dreams, wishes and aspirations for this one troubled and yet still vital world of which we are a part. Thank you.
As we enter into our time of meditation, we invite you to sing our meditation song, Blue Boat Home, led by Marina McGregor. Number 1064 in the Teal Book, if you have that. The words will be on your screen.
Far away from the rolling
Good morning. I'm intern minister Marantha Lennox, and this morning I would like to offer a prayer for being exactly where we are. Life spins on in all ways, large and small, close and distant, and all these circles are connected. Each of our own circles linked in with everyone else's, and pull as we might, they are fused tight and can never separate. Today, some are feeling the sunshine on their faces after the parting of the clouds, and others are still in the storm. Or some might even be facing a brand new storm cloud gathering on the horizon. It is part of being in the world that our work is never done. When we are at peace, there are others around us who need help. We are blessed to be a people of commitment, who will not give up on creating a better world, not when it feels impossible, and not even when it feels easy. Help us to let go of certainty. Help us release our grip on that which we expect to see, so that we can discover what else could be true. Help us listen deeply to our neighbor in need and ask courageously for our own needs to be met. In our letting go, let us be free from the fear of scarcity, free from the need to place what feels fair over what is just, free from the dynamic of shame or I told you so, free to shift from guilt to accountability, free to act from a heart that says, yes, yes, I will put love first, no matter what it might cost. We are here together. After all we have been going through this year, to gather in such a way is to proclaim that nothing can keep us apart. We ask to feel the comfort of each other's presence each day this week, and we place our faith in this truth of community. In gratitude and in hope and in commitment, let us say, blessed be.
The moon glows white on the mountain tonight, not a footprint to be seen. A kingdom of isolation, and it looks like I'm the queen. The wind is howling like this swirling down inside. Couldn't keep it in, heaven knows I tried. Don't let them, don't let them see. Be the good girl you always had to be. 'Cause they don't feel, don't let them know. When I say no, let it go.
Good morning. My name's Davina Smith. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees, and my pronouns are she and hers. Thank you to everyone who participated in our virtual Bid for Love auction. It was a rousing success, and I deeply appreciate all of the ways that our members and friends continue to support our beloved MDUUC community. Please, as you can, continue to donate your time, talent, and treasure in support of our beloved community. And if this is a year where you find that you really just can't, know that our community still loves and values you and all of your contributions. In the spirit of our third UU principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, let's continue to search out creative ways that we can support one another and our spiritual growth. And if that means a donation of time, talent, or treasure, all the better. Thank you. Now please join me in reciting the dedication of the offering, the words of which will be on the screen in front of you. To the work of this community in transforming ourselves and our world, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings.
On the night of November 7th, at the beginning of our Bid for Love auction, those in attendance were invited to bid and learn how to bid by bidding $1 for a conversation with a peacock. Now, technically, that really should have been conversation with peafowl, as that is the proper gender-neutral term, and also because we have two of them.
These outlandish birds showed up on our campus just a little bit after the shelter in place started. And there's been something sort of wonderful and ridiculous about such excessively beautiful creatures that seem really to be almost purposeless in their beauty, bringing us the random joy of their existence. Now, the peafowl have been hard to find since we, almost 70 of us, bid on the opportunity to talk with them. So what I would suggest is that we take a moment right now and think about something that's joyfully extravagant, ridiculous in its happiness, and simply hold that in our heart right now. When you see the peafowl, when they get over their stage fright, you can tell it to them, or you can tell it to somebody that you love, maybe a co-conspirator, and maybe you can just go out and do that joyful thing.
Here are 3 images from my week that I will share with the peafowl the next time they show up. The first was on Tuesday morning when I had to come to campus before dawn. And when I went to pull the gate open, a bird flew out of the end of the pipe on the gate. The bird had found a warm place, I guess, to stay on what was actually a very cold night, and had made a temporary home there. Not the perfect place, but I guess it did for that night. And here's the second thing. I have a friend who has lived on the streets, experienced hatred and discrimination as a black gay man, and moved many, many times all over the country, even in the 25 years that I've known him. And he's now in his 70s. About a decade ago, he asked me to come and dedicate his home over in Palo Alto. It was the first home he had ever owned, even though he was past the age that many retire. He shed tears as we said the simple words of the ritual, this long-sought sanctuary that was there for someone who had so often told me there was no place that he really truly felt that he belonged. Yet all the other places that he had lived and worked, he had created a beautiful aesthetic in, as if he were always making that temporary nest as beautiful as it could be, just in case that long-time possibility was never realized, keeping hope alive for a more permanent place and also living where he was in the moment. The third scene from this week that I would tell the peacocks about is tied to that picture of the rain in the Martinez Harbor that flashed through in the affirmation of community today. That was my picture. I went to the harbor on Friday night. I was like the little rhino. It was my time to let the storm out after getting news that my friend, the one I just spoke to you about, was not doing well in the ICU in San Mateo. I went to the harbor and I let my tears flow with the rain streaking down the windshield. I went to the train station because I really love trains, even though right now I can't really ride one. I went to look at the boats, and then I drove home. It was a way that I could be present with myself in the world in which I was. And then I went back to my efforts, which I've been doing all week, to try to set up my old analog stereo, because I think it would be good to have many forms of music in this time. It is a way that I can let it go. Our opening hymn today spoke about singing. Until this pandemic, did we really know how much singing is a shelter for hope for us? I could cite you the research about how singing together helps the body, calms the nervous system, and I don't think any of you, fact lovers though you are, really need to hear those particular facts. Of all the things that we miss about being together, one of the things we long for, it's in the same plane for some of us as hugs and in-person gatherings, is the opportunity to sing together, to be together in that way. We have all been longing to that. I've taken to mouthing the words for the hymns on Sundays, as it would endanger others who are here so precious among us, putting on this worship service, to have me actually sing out here. In Vespers, though, and in safer spaces, I do sing, and it helps in a temporary nest kind of way. When we worship with others, when we sing, we know that even for a moment, even across lag, time, and sound delays, that we belong. And in my conversations with the peafowl, I will tell them that someday, if they stick around, they will hear voices pouring out of this sanctuary. What might you say in a conversation with the peafowl? What is the place where your heart needs to express that extravagance of comfort and joy? That needs to be reminded, some part of you, that you belong to something larger than the walls of your abode or your vehicle if you have the good fortune to live sheltered. Whatever you need to say to the peafowl, I am sure that it would be better than the joke that I told them the other day, which is this: what do you call a baby peacock? A chickpea. I mention this bad pun because a conversation with the peacock may seem absurd or inconsequential right now, and yet we do need to shelter in the joy and laughter and celebration that we can have, because we need homes for dreams, bridges to better times, reminders that we do belong to others, even though so much of our time is spent away from others. And with the news this week of our lockdown coming back in some ways, it is particularly important for us to remember the importance of joy. Living in this world where we really truly know now that there are no winners or losers. There are just all of us connected as we are. I have reflected a lot upon this, and I think that we live in a world today where very few people actually truly feel that they belong. That lack of sense of belonging, I believe, is at the core of the discord among our neighbors, among our families together. And it's something we need to begin by creating those places where we can belong to the joy that can be such a good form of resistance against despair. The pace of change, the disinformation of news as idolatry, the human-made disasters of climate change, the pressures of a shrinking and stressed world mean that we all feel threatened in some ways, as if we don't have a real place, a real nest, a real home. And we need to be sheltered from the despair and detachment that can come from that, all of us. We need to find a home where we can rest, even if it's just for a night or a few moments, in hope and the possibility that our spirits so need in these times that are so uncertain. This need became apparent this week to me, especially. After the events of last weekend, so many people remarked to me that they had expected to feel more joyful than they were. They were relieved, they were happy, but they didn't really feel completely joyful this week. Many people in our check-ins were feeling overwhelmed a little bit, like that little rhino who suddenly realizes that they had been swallowing and swallowing more things than they could actually hold. A little overwhelmed by the storms inside of them, these emotions that have been kind of put aside until there is some safer place or time. For me on Friday night, I realized there is no better time. This is the time that we have, and this is what we have to allow ourselves to do to understand the storms we are carrying. Many people, many of us, have been raised in situations where it's really difficult when there are storms brewing to actually express what you feel. So those emotions tend to swamp you after the hurricane has passed over, and then you feel the extent of those emotions. Some of us are feeling a little bit like we have a 2020 hangover. It's just something that never quite leaves us feeling good inside, and that can be hard and difficult and depressing. And if you are one of those people, please know you are not alone and that you can reach out and ask for help. And also know that indulging in moments of joy do allow us to let go of the things that are uncertain, even for a little while, and that can cause the anxiety to subside in this particular time. And just those little pieces of relief are very helpful. We need to nest, to find homes, even in this imperfect world, to find homes in moments of joy, even if they're very brief. Joy is a form of resistance, as many communities have known for hundreds of years. Resistance to that sense of despair, because when we think about how much there is to solve or how much there is to fix, it can be really wearisome and it can be really overwhelming. Uncertainty as a way of life may not be a temporary thing. So these skills that we are learning now in this time may be skills that we need to go forward. Here is a quote from white feminist author Rebecca Solnit, who writes for The Guardian and for Harper's Magazine. She says, "Hopefulness is really for me not optimism, that everything's going to be fine and we can just sit back. That's too much like pessimism, which is that everything's going to suck and we can just sit back. Hope for me just means a Buddhist sense of uncertainty, of coming to terms with the fact that we don't know what will happen and that there's maybe room for us to intervene, and that we have to let go of the certainty that people seem to love more than hope and know that we don't know what's going on. The uncertainty that people seem to love more than hope. That's something worth thinking about. We have all kinds of bargaining we do when we're unsettled. Some of us don't even know that we're doing it. We don't want to relax or be joyful or be happy or enjoy the things we can because we're waiting for the time to come, some time that isn't right there. Those who celebrated and are celebrating Diwali around the world right now are experiencing in these COVID times what we will be experiencing as other holidays come around in the next weeks, a sense of trying to grasp what we can, but also being very aware of what is not. And we must remember that we have these skills. Here's Rebecca Solnit again. Joy is such an interesting term because we hear constantly about happiness. Are you happy? People ask. Emotions are mutable, and this notion that happiness should be a steady state seems destined to make people miserable. Joy is so much more interesting because, she says, I think we're much more aware that it's like the light in the sunrise or the lightning or something. It's epiphanies in moments and raptures, and it's never supposed to be a steady state. And that's okay, she says. I think it's a word that comes up a lot more in spiritual life than happiness. That millstone, happiness. The religious impulse that brings us together each week when we gather, the ways that we gather throughout the week, that binding together is often binding us now to what is uncertain and what is possible, that holding the both and of those two things in relationship with one another. And we will need to keep doing that, keeping alive with possibility and also letting go of a need for things to be exactly as we wish they would be. We have so much wisdom that we inherit in our culture from people who have always known what it's like to live in this kind of world without certainty. Today we are singing, and I hope you are singing. It feels weird, but I tell you, it can become the new normal. We are singing 2 hymns from the African American tradition, from people who have endured the worst that life can offer, and yet also know that you seize the moments of joy that you can, that you seize the inspiration that you can, because that is what allows you to keep on going. So let us sing, 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 sing. And let us take a moment to give kudos to the parents of our children's choir today, who, on top of everything else that they are juggling, jobs and online school and online extracurricular activities, made a space for their children to connect to the joy of singing together as we can virtually, and to our amazing staff, especially Marina McGregor for leading them and Colin Ketchum for putting that piece together. It's so important that we do what we can. And it's so important that we recognize that it is so important for us to let go of all the other forms that we wish were true. How do we bridge between where we are and where we need to be? Those temporary nests and bridges, those places of belonging for the moment, don't need to be where we'll land in a few years' time or the long term, however we define it. If you've seen my car anytime recently, which some of you have, you know that there is a bird that lives in the giant ash in my front yard and nests there now every night and does the things that birds do when they're sleeping every night above my car. And I hope that this is not the permanent place for that bird to find its place to nest and roost every night, but for now, this is where that bird seems to want to be. Rebecca Solnit reminds us that out of the temporary communities that came together and were created in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina has been a long-lasting and continued stream of community resources that weren't there for that community before the storm. We do not know what we will birth from our makeshift warbling pursuits in these times. They may be important for us in the future. So what can we do in this time of shorter and colder days? We can take the time to spruce up our own nests, not big remodeling, just the placements of objects with intention. We can look towards rather than away from those who are living on our streets. We can purchase an extra can of peanut butter or tuna. Our food bank barrel is back outside now. It's out by the Gilmartin building. We can make a donation to the food bank if we can't be there. And we know that there are people among us who are scheming about how we can virtually share our Christmas. We can sing out with the hymns at home. We can lock that part of us away that says that it's silly and just allow ourselves to let it go. We can also dance in our own space to the music that holds memories, to the various virtual dance events that are available, or to learn that latest TikTok challenge if that's what you need, without worrying about who we are or what it looks like, just letting that go. And we can engage in the ways we can over these coming weeks with the opportunities that we will provide through this community for us to connect and be together in the ways that we can, knowing that we are entering once again into a time of more sanctions and strictures, and also knowing that we have proved over these months that we are creative and resilient and that we know how to have moments of joy. In these ways, we can allow ourselves that hopeful uncertainty, that joy as resistance to the soul death which so many who came before us knew to avoid and who leave us the map away from those paths. By singing and dancing, nesting and bridging today, we will be able to survive what may sometimes seem like an endless wait for a time that we know better, where there's a little more certainty. It may or may not come, but we will be in these moments. So come and go with us to this land.
So we invite you to sing our closing song out of the out of the teal book, actually, Singing the Journey, number 1018. If you have that, the words will be on your screen. Come and go with me. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There will be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There will be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound.
And we extinguish our chalice today with these words from Maverick City Music. I've got beauty for ashes. I've got joy for mourning. I've got praise for heaviness. Love is a miracle. And let us take with us the love that we carry in this community out into the world. And may we do so in the spirit of peace.